3 ESPN insider John McMullen. They practiced today, and John's nice enough to connect with us and give us the latest. Johnny Mac, what do you think of those numbers, right? In the end, you're always paying.
Yeah, and the issue from a league perspective, and what everyone has criticized for years and years and years, is that with season ticket holders, in most cities, and I can't speak for every city, but I would be stunned if someone stopped this way of doing business. They bundle it together to the point where you have to buy it as a season ticket holder. And I think that's the bigger issue, because essentially you're forcing people to buy what you're dressing up as an NFL product. It's obviously not an NFL product. So, I mean, there's a couple ways you can think about it. The secondhand ticket market, StubHub, things like that, the NFL's own ticket exchange, you can get in much cheaper if you're someone who can't afford season tickets, want to take your family to an Eagles game, see people in the jersey and such. On the other hand, you're not seeing Carson Wentz and Fletcher Cox and the entire offensive line and the receivers and basically every star player. So it's not an easy answer, but it's ugly. And I talked about that with Mike yesterday. It's ugly the way they do this. It really is. Not only the business aspect, but also how they handle the players. Because we always talk about safety in this league, and a lot of people like to beat that drum and say, you got to take better care of these players. Well, they don't care about the back-end players on the roster. I'll tell you that, because those guys are thrown out to get injured, so the key players don't. And that might be the more uglier part of the whole system.
John McMullen with us. So, of course, the big question was, or the big story to come out of the game against Tennessee was Nate Sudfeld. And you write on our website on 973ESPN.com that they're definitely breathing a sigh of relief. Like it could have been worse. It looks like it's going to be the standard 6 weeks. And I guess then the follow-up is, and they they put Press Taylor out there to have to take the bullets yesterday, the proverbial bullets, so to speak, of like, oh, Colin Kaepernick, or oh, do you want? I mean, do you really think they need to bring somebody else in, or do you think they'll go status quo?
No, they're going to go status quo. And certainly when you talk about 6 weeks, worst case scenario is probably 8 weeks from yesterday. You're talking about 2, maybe worst case 4 regular season games. And then Nate will be back. So a couple of reasons from a business perspective that makes sense, and that Cody Kessler is not vested yet, so you don't have to guarantee his salary week 1. If you went out and signed somebody who is vested, like Josh McCown, talk him out of retirement, Colin Kaepernick, which is nonsense, but nonetheless, people like to talk about it. You got to guarantee their salaries for the whole season. Who knows what somebody like Colin wants to play for? That's been one of the issues as well. As far as Press Taylor, they didn't throw him under the bus. That's just, and I hate to do this to you, Pete, because you're a former TV guy. You're a good TV guy.
Yeah, that's TV
guy. Bad TV guy. And,
hit him.
They don't know what they're talking about. And Press is not involved in those decisions. Number one, the assistant coaches were scheduled to talk that day before the game, before Nate Sudfeld was injured, so that was already set up. So it wasn't the Eagles throwing Press Taylor under the bus. It was a TV reporter who has no idea how this works, asking questions that, and to be honest, from his standpoint, people will be interested in, but you need the context. You need to understand these things. Some people want to understand. Some people don't want to understand.
Don't worry. I understand the line between what I call the scribes, or those who do the in-depth reporting, and those who are just trying to get a nice TV soundbite. And not for nothing, they make sure that they turn on a bright interrogation light and shine it right in the guy's eyes before they hit him with that hard-hitting Edward R. Murrow not question. The Eagles made a trade, by the way, a defensive end, and of course your headline there, well, it's August, so Howie makes a deal.
He always does, and sometimes they're more impactful. Sam Bradford Thinking about how successful that was for the Eagles when Carson Wentz took over. They're usually not quite as impactful. Dennis Kelly, Terrence Brooks, Alan Barber, people like that have gone over the years in August. And this is the latest one. And, I think it has a lot to do with Joe Osman going down. This is more of a Joe Osman type in the fact that Eli is really drafted. He was a former third-round draft choice in San Francisco. He's drafted as a 3-4 outside linebacker. So he's got those kinds of skills on the edge, and maybe Jim Schwartz had started rolling out this joker look with Osman, where he's a stand-up rusher from the inside in the nickel. And that's something the other defensive ends, Deshaun Hall, who I would argue was the best player in the preseason game, was tremendous, and Sharif Miller, who's a rookie from Penn State, they're sort of base defensive ends. They can't move around like that. They don't have those movement skills. So it's rolling the dice on a player who's got some skill. And Ryan Bates, who they sent to Buffalo, he was playing left tackle. So, he's behind not only Jason Peters and Andre Dillard, but if catastrophe struck, then you have Halapula Vaitai and Jordan Mailata. So that's a long way of saying he wasn't making this team. So you send him to an organization that needs help on the offensive line, and you get back somebody you can take a look at for a couple of weeks and see if he can help.
So today, now, what do you think Doug's supposed to talk today? What will, in your mind, what are some of the topics of conversation, or what's on John McMullen's mind that he wants to get in?
Well, my mind is a little bit different. Obviously, he's going to get peppered with questions about the backup quarterback, and that's what he's going to say. He's going to say what I just said, and the fact that it's not going to be a long-term issue, and he kind of knew that after the game. It would have been completely different if Nate broke the wrist on his throwing hand, but the fact it's his non-throwing hand, they kind of knew it was going to be a multi-week injury, but that he would be back relatively early in the season. That's how it's going to turn out. And you can cobble it together with Cody Kessler, but he's going to get a ton of questions about that. And, oh, by the way, I mentioned on the show yesterday as well, we just talked about Howie trading. If they can find a younger quarterback they like and they think that has some potential, I could see him going outside the organization to try to upgrade the backup spot. But they're not bringing in a veteran vested guy that they're going to have to pay for the whole season for 2 weeks, just in case, by the way, Carson gets injured, as everyone assumes is going to happen. It's not necessarily true. I think he could make it through 2 weeks. So a lot of it is absurd, but he's going to get peppered with those questions, and football questions are going to suffer.
Which is what John really wants to hear, the true football questions. Well, our Twitter question today, you probably heard me say that after seeing Nate Sudfeld get injured in the Eagles preseason opener, do you think Carson Wentz should play at all in the preseason? And forgive me, John, I forget where you weighed in originally on that, but has your opinion changed, or have you stuck with your opinion the whole way? Do we need to see Carson Wentz in the preseason?
No, I don't think you need to. I think you're going to for a very short window. And I went back. He's really only had one healthy preseason. He broke his rib as a rookie in the first game and missed the rest of the preseason. And then last year he wasn't cleared, so he couldn't play. So year two, which was the Super Bowl season, he played, I think, 67 maybe. 50 total snaps. So I think it'll be less than that. But you'll see him. And Doug talked about just getting him used to, because remember, he was shut down at the end of last season. So you just want to give him a taste of that live environment, a taste of the grass, as Doug likes to say. So I definitely think you'll see him for a few series against Baltimore. But Doug also mentioned, people need to remember the Ravens are in that week for joint practices before the game.
Okay.
And he's already said that because of that, the starters are probably going to get less reps than they typically would in that week 3 because they're going to get so much work in practice. So you're going to see him. You might see him for a series or 2 this week as well. Certainly not week 4. But if you're excited to see him, get in your seat early because it's not going to last long.
What did you think of the Eagles coaches saying that Clayton Thorson was nervous? That he's not that bad? That's just spin to protect their player, right?
Yeah, that's called an excuse. Yeah, he didn't play well. I mean, Clayton played at Northwestern, which is a Big Ten school. So, yeah, not the biggest stadium, but he gets to play in places like Michigan and Penn State, Wisconsin at times, Ohio State. He's been on big stages. They won pretty impressively the Big Ten with Clayton Thorson. He set a record for starts as a Big Ten quarterback. My point being, he's played a lot of football on a lot of big stages. He wasn't nervous. He just stunk. And he's got to turn it around. And he hasn't been good since he got here. So at some point, you never want to admit, oh, we made a mistake with a 5th-round pick this early. But, you know, I've talked to coaches off the record before, and I've heard guys say, you're so excited to get somebody in the building in the spring when you don't even have pads on, shorts, everybody's in shirts and shorts, and they say, oh, we made a mistake. They can tell pretty early. You're getting the feeling that the Eagles made a mistake. Clayton's got a couple weeks to turn it around, and we'll see if he can do it. He's going to get plenty of playing time.
Yeah, plenty of playing time and plenty of questions, too, I'm sure, when the reporters are able to have access to him. And today's the first day you guys will be able to get guys coming off the field, I guess, since the preseason opener.
Yeah, well,
so,
real quick, Pete, to his credit, he was great after the game.
Okay.
I mean, that was a terrible, terrible performance. And he sat and he answered every question, and he was affable. He was not upset. He understood. Yeah. And he is, as you can imagine, being from Northwestern, he's smart. But that's not the issue. The accuracy is just not there. It hasn't been to this standpoint. And you always talk to scouts, and they say one thing about quarterbacks. If you're not accurate at the college level, you're probably not going to get accurate at the pro level.
Another great nugget that I read in your work on 97.3 ESPN. He is John McMullen, our 97.3 ESPN Eagles insider. Follow him on Twitter at JF McMullen as well.